Our story begins deep in Sri Lanka, in the mist-covered hills of Ratnapura, a place beautiful and quietly isolated. Here, the land rises sharply, the forests thicken, and entire villages disappear behind walls of green. Most of Katakatana lies inside vast tea estates, labyrinths of narrow footpaths twisting through dense vegetation. Homes stand miles apart, tiny silhouettes swallowed by mist and silence. For many women, this isolation was part of everyday life. Travel happens on foot. No streetlights, no nearby neighbors, just long, lonely paths cutting through the forest. When night falls, the hills sink into absolute darkness. A single weak lamppost flickers on an empty road, barely pushing back the blackness. The forests close in, forming tunnels of shadow, places where sound dies and where anything or anyone could hide. From above, Kotakatana looks peaceful. Tea hills rolling into mist-filled valleys. But beneath that calm, fear was beginning to take root. Storms swept across the hills without warning. Lightning would reveal the village for just a heartbeat before darkness returned again. And in that darkness, something dangerous was already moving. The first murders began quietly, whispered about only in the narrow footpaths of Kotakatana. In 2008, a woman was found inside her own home. No witnesses, no clear motive, just fear, settling like fog across the village. Months later, another body. Same isolation, same brutality, same fire, consuming the evidence. The flames didn't just destroy objects, they erased the truth. Charred walls, collapsed roofs, and ash where answers should have been. Police searched the ruins for clues, but everything had turned to dust. Everything, except the fear. These early murders seemed disconnected. Different ages, different homes, no obvious threads. But beneath the surface, a pattern was forming. A predator moving through forests and footpaths, learning the landscape, studying routines, striking in silence, then disappearing back into the hills. By 2010, investigators realized the truth. This was no coincidence. Kotakatana was being hunted. At first light, officers arrived quietly, stepping onto the muddy estate path with caution. The burned structure stood in front of them, still warm, still smoking, still hiding answers. From a distance, unmarked vans rolled to a stop. CID officers stepped out silently, watching, observing, giving nothing away. Inside the ruins, flashlight beams cut through the smoke. Evidence was scarce, almost wiped clean by fire, but not completely. Then, the first body was found. Lying beneath collapsed beams and ash, untouched by anyone but the killer. Villagers gathered from afar, whispering in fear. They knew this was only the beginning. Quietly, carefully, CID lifted a small metallic object from the debris. One clue. In a place almost erased by flames. Behind the house, a narrow path showed signs of movement. Footprints, broken grass, a trail leading deeper into the forest. As the body was covered and lifted onto the stretcher, the weight of the moment sank in. Kotakatana had lost another daughter. Something about this case felt deliberate, practiced, familiar. Scene 30. As dusk settled over the hills, police prepared to leave. But CID remained, searching for what the fire tried to hide. Dawn breaks on a charred homestead as CID quietly closes the perimeter. Unmarked vans sit shadowed at the edge of the scene while officers place evidence cones, methodical, deliberate. Villagers gather at the fringe, faces turned towards smoke and ruin. They whisper, clutch lanterns, and watch from a distance, the morning fog swallowing their words. Inside, police sweep through soot and collapsed beams, flashlights cutting through dense smoke. Something lies under a scorched cloth, only an outline, a quiet trace of what was lost. At the threshold, a CID officer crouches to study a muddied footprint, an impression that refuses to vanish. He leans closer with a magnifier, the light revealing small details the fire could not erase. Down the path, a secondary scene is cordoned off, yellow tape slung across the forest trail. An item covered from view, officers speaking softly into radios as villagers peer through foliage. Two CID officers step aside to question a shaken villager beside an unmarked car, voices low and urgent. Notes are taken, gestures traced toward the trees, small details that might point the way. A piece of partially burned clothing is lifted with metal tongs and photographed, evidence rescued from the edge of ruin. Mist coils across the ground as the fabric is cataloged, each thread a quiet witness to the night's violence. Under a dim lamppost, officers gather for a briefing. The senior voice is calm, precise, plans are laid out. CID remains in the background by their unmarked vans, listening, ready to move on another lead. Inside an unmarked vehicle, a CID officer taps a glowing tablet, placing markers along narrow footpaths, roots of focus and suspicion. Transparent projections trace possible routes through the hills as evidence bags wait patiently on the seat. They move as a unit now, CID and police tracing a trail through misted undergrowth, flashlights sweeping the path ahead. Step by careful step, they follow the suspected route, the forest closing around them as they vanish into shadow. As officers expanded their search, the forest revealed new clues. Small details the flames had failed to consume. Villagers stepped forward quietly, their voices trembling as they described shadows moving through the trees on nights of the attacks. Inside the police post, evidence piled higher, charred fabric, soil from footprints, fragments of tools, each item whispering pieces of a larger truth. CID officers compared scenes side by side, and for the first time, patterns began to emerge. A narrow footpath once ignored grew suspicious. The same route reported by villagers in multiple murders. Police retraced the killer's possible movements. Footsteps disappearing into the same direction each time. But deeper in the woods, investigators found a chilling sign. A hidden spot where someone had been watching the village. The discovery shifted everything. It meant the killer didn't strike randomly. They waited. They planned. They studied their victims. With tension rising, CID officers mapped every path, every hill, every line of sight, determined to uncover how one person could move unseen for so long. Scene 50. And as they pieced together the fractured roots, a clearer shape of the killer finally began to form.